You wake in the quiet hours before dawn and you notice something has changed. The conversations that once animated you now feel hollow. The gatherings that once energized you now drain something essential from your core. The faces that smile and laugh around you seem to be performing a play you no longer understand the script for. And slowly, almost without deciding, you begin to withdraw, not with drama or announcement, but with the gentle, inevitable pull of water finding its level. You stop answering messages as quickly. You decline invitations more often. You find yourself craving silence, the way a desert traveler craves water. The noise of the world, once background static, now feels like an assault on something tender within you. You retreat to your room, your thoughts, your solitude, and in that retreat, you feel both relief and a strange, aching loneliness that has no name. People notice. They ask if you're okay. They wonder if you're depressed. They suggest you need to get out more, to reconnect, to be social again. But their concern carries an assumption that your withdrawal is a problem to be fixed, a symptom of something broken, and you cannot explain to them that you are not broken at all. You cannot find words to describe that what they call isolation feels to you like the only honest response to a world that has become unbearably false. So you say nothing. You smile weakly. You make vague promises to do better, and then you disappear a little more. You are not alone in this strange vanishing. All across the world, the most conscious among us are quietly stepping back from the stage, retreating into silence, becoming invisible to a society that no longer speaks their language. And if you are one of them, you need to understand what is really happening, because what looks like withdrawal is actually something far more profound, something Dostoevsky understood with painful clarity. You are not broken for wanting to disappear. You are not antisocial, depressed, or damaged because you feel the need to step away from the noise and falsity of modern life. What you are experiencing is not a personal failing, but a necessary response to a world that has lost its connection to truth. Dostoevsky knew this. He spent his entire life documenting the suffering of souls who see too clearly to participate comfortably in the collective illusion. He understood that consciousness itself becomes a burden when you live in a society built on pretense. The pain you feel is not evidence of your weakness. It is evidence of your integrity. You are withdrawing because your soul refuses to betray itself anymore. You are seeking silence because your spirit needs space to breathe, space to remember what is real beneath all the performance and noise. This is not a flaw in your character. It is your character asserting itself against a culture that demands you abandon it. The loneliness you feel is not because you are insufficient or incapable of connection. It is because genuine connection has become rare, and your soul knows the difference between real intimacy and the shallow mimicry that passes for relationship in modern life. You are not running away from people. You are running toward yourself, toward the few truths you still recognize as sacred. Dostoevsky understood that the most conscious individuals do not withdraw because they hate the world. They withdraw because they love truth more than comfort, and the world has made comfort contingent upon abandoning truth. In his novels, again and again, we see characters who cannot participate in the easy lies that keep society running smoothly. Raskolnikov, tormented by his own consciousness, cannot simply return to ordinary life after his crime. Prince Mishkin, too pure for the calculating world around him, becomes a stranger in every room he enters. Ivan Karamazov, burdened by the weight of metaphysical questions, finds himself unable to engage with those who live untroubled by such depths. These characters are not villains or madmen. They are souls who have awakened to realities that the sleeping world cannot see and does not want to acknowledge. And their suffering comes not from weakness, but from the terrible gift of seeing clearly. What you call disappearing, Dostoevsky would call protecting what remains sacred within you, because consciousness, once it reaches a certain depth, cannot coexist with falsity without injury. The soul begins to recognize the cost of pretending, the violence of performing emotions you do not feel, the exhaustion of translating your inner world into language that will be acceptable to those who do not share your vision. And so, the conscious soul does what it must. It withdraws. It grows silent. It vanishes from spaces where authenticity is punished and performance is rewarded. This is not escape. This is survival. This is the soul choosing integrity over belonging, truth over acceptance, depth over the shallow waters where everyone else seems to swim so easily. To understand why the most conscious are disappearing in silence, you must first understand what Dostoevsky revealed about the nature of consciousness itself. In his work, consciousness is never portrayed as a simple blessing. It is a double-edged sword, a gift that cuts both ways. To become conscious is to step out of the dream that sustains ordinary life. It is to wake up inside a world where everyone else remains asleep, and to discover that you can no longer participate in their dream without feeling like you are suffocating. Dostoevsky knew that consciousness isolates. The more you see, the fewer people can meet you in that seeing. The deeper you go into truth, the more alone you become, because most people are not interested in truth. They are interested in comfort, in maintaining the structures and stories that allow them to avoid confronting the darker, more complex realities of existence. When you become conscious, you begin to see through these structures. You see the masks people wear, not with judgment, but with a clarity that makes casual conversation feel surreal. You notice the ways people avoid real questions, the ways they deflect from genuine emotion, the ways they perform versions of themselves that have been carefully constructed to win approval. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You cannot return to the innocence of easy participation. You become like the underground man, Dostoevsky's most tortured creation, who sees too much and suffers for his seeing. The underground man is conscious to the point of paralysis. He analyzes every social interaction until it becomes mechanical and absurd. He recognizes the artificial nature of social rituals, the hypocrisy embedded in polite society, the emptiness of conventional success, and this consciousness torments him because he cannot simply accept what everyone else accepts. He cannot simply play along. His awareness has made him a stranger to the world he still inhabits, and he retreats underground into his own thoughts, because that is the only place where he does not have to pretend. This is not madness. This is the logical response of a soul that values truth above all else. When you reach a certain level of consciousness, small talk becomes unbearable. not because you think you are better than others, but because you can no longer ignore the gap between what people say and what they actually mean, between the faces they show and the pain they hide. You feel the weight of unspoken truths in every conversation, and it exhausts you to pretend you do not notice. So you begin to withdraw, not from arrogance, but from honesty. You stop going to gatherings where everyone performs happiness while carrying hidden suffering. You stop engaging in conversations that dance around the surface while avoiding any depth. You stop forcing yourself to be present in spaces that require you to betray your own awareness. And in this withdrawal, something remarkable happens. You begin to remember who you are beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the expectations, beneath all the roles you have played to be acceptable. The silence becomes a refuge where your true self can finally breathe. Dostoevsky showed us this pattern in nearly every major work. His conscious characters are always outsiders. They are the ones who cannot laugh at the jokes everyone else finds funny, who cannot celebrate the victories everyone else considers important, who cannot ignore the suffering everyone else has learned to overlook. Prince Myshkin, the holy fool, sees into the hearts of those around him with devastating clarity. He feels their pain as his own. He recognizes their hidden goodness and their secret corruption. And this seeing makes him beloved by some and despised by others, because he reflects back to people truths about themselves they would rather not face. Eventually, his consciousness overwhelms him, and he retreats into illness, into silence, into a kind of disappearance that is both tragic and inevitable. This is what happens when consciousness meets a world unwilling to be conscious. The soul either hardens itself, learning to hide its awareness behind cynicism and detachment, or it withdraws completely, preserving its sensitivity by removing itself from spaces that would destroy it. You, who are reading this, likely recognize yourself in this pattern. You have tried to explain to others why certain things bother you that do not seem to bother them, why you cannot simply enjoy the party when you feel the loneliness radiating from every smiling face, why you cannot relax into relationships built on mutual pretense, why you cannot celebrate success that comes at the cost of integrity, and when your explanations fall flat, when people look at you with confusion or concern or irritation, you learn to stop explaining. You learn to keep your observations to yourself. You learn to disappear quietly rather than continue to disturb the collective dream with your inconvenient awareness. But here is what Dostoevsky understood that changes everything. This withdrawal, this silence, this disappearance of the conscious is not a defeat. It is a necessary stage in the soul's evolution. Because before you can return to the world in a meaningful way, you must first retreat far enough to remember what is real. You must step back from the noise long enough to hear your own inner voice again. You must create distance from the false so that you can recognize the true. The silence you seek is not an ending. It is a preparation. It is the cocoon where your consciousness undergoes its deepest transformation. In that silence, away from the demands and expectations of a world that does not understand you, your soul does its most important work. It sorts through everything you have absorbed, everything you have been told to believe, everything you have pretended to accept. It separates what is genuinely yours from what was imposed upon you. It strengthens the fragile truth within you that the world has tried to crush. And slowly, in that silence, you begin to solidify. You begin to know yourself in ways that cannot be shaken by external pressure. You develop an inner core that does not need validation from those who do not see what you see. Dostoevsky knew that this process is painful and lonely, but he also knew it was sacred. His greatest characters are forged in this kind of solitude. Raskolnikov finds redemption not through social reintegration, but through suffering and isolation that finally breaks open his heart. Alyosha Karamazov becomes capable of genuine love only after he has faced the depths of doubt and darkness alone. The conscious soul must disappear for a time so that it can return changed, strengthened, capable of carrying its awareness without being destroyed by it. So, what do you do with this understanding? How do you navigate this period of withdrawal without losing yourself completely to isolation or bitterness? Dostoevsky did not offer easy solutions, but he pointed toward a path that honors both your need for truth and your need for connection. First, you must accept that you cannot go back. You cannot return to the unconscious comfort you once knew. The door has closed behind you, and trying to force yourself back through it will only cause more suffering. Your consciousness is not a disease to be cured. It is a reality to be integrated. Accept that you see what you see, feel what you feel, know what you know. Stop apologizing for it. Stop trying to make yourself smaller to fit into spaces that were designed for less complicated souls. Second, understand that your withdrawal is temporary. Even if it does not feel that way now, you are not meant to disappear forever. You are meant to retreat long enough to gather your strength, to clarify your vision, to build an inner foundation solid enough to support the weight of your awareness. Dostoevsky's characters, who remain in permanent isolation, become distorted, bitter, consumed by their own consciousness. But those who use their solitude as preparation, who allow it to deepen and transform them rather than define them, eventually find a way to return to the world with their truth intact. Third, seek out the few who understand. Not everyone will meet you in your depth, but some will. Dostoevsky knew that conscious souls recognize each other almost instantly. There is a quality of presence, a willingness to speak truthfully, a lack of pretense that makes connection immediate and profound. These connections are rare, but they are real, and they are worth waiting for. Do not waste your energy trying to force shallow people to understand deep things. Instead, save your truth for those who have earned the right to receive it, for those who meet you with equal honesty and vulnerability. Fourth, use this silence to create. Dostoevsky himself withdrew from society repeatedly, and in those withdrawals, he produced his greatest works. Your consciousness is not meant to simply observe and suffer. It is meant to transform what it sees into something meaningful, something beautiful, something that serves. Whether through art, writing, service, or simply the way you show up in your few genuine relationships, find a way to channel your awareness into creation rather than letting it stagnate in mere critique. Finally, be patient with yourself. The process of integrating consciousness is slow and non-linear. There will be days when you feel strong in your solitude, and days when you feel desperately lonely. There will be moments when you are tempted to abandon your truth for the comfort of belonging, and moments when you would rather die then compromise again. All of this is part of the path. Dostoevsky's characters suffer not because they are wrong, but because transformation is inherently painful. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by trying harder to be a caterpillar. It becomes a butterfly by surrendering to a process that looks and feels like death. You are not disappearing because you are weak or broken or incapable of normal life. You are disappearing because your soul has reached a level of consciousness that cannot coexist with falsity without injury, and you are wise enough to protect what remains sacred within you. This withdrawal is not the end of your story. It is the middle chapter, the dark night that comes before dawn, the silent preparation for a return that will be different from any participation you have known before. Dostoevsky showed us that the conscious soul goes through stages. First, awakening, when you begin to see what others do not see. Then, suffering, when that seeing isolates you and you do not yet know how to carry it. Then, withdrawal, when you retreat to protect yourself and to integrate what you have learned. And finally, return, when you come back to the world not to fix it or convert it, but to live your truth within it, to offer your gifts to those ready to receive them, to become a quiet light in the darkness rather than another voice adding to the noise. You are in the withdrawal stage now, and it is holy. Honor it. Do not rush through it. Do not apologize for it. Use this silence to become so solid in your truth that when you do return, nothing can shake you. Build your inner world so strong that you no longer need external validation to know who you are. Let this period of disappearance refine you like fire refines gold, burning away everything false until only what is real remains. And know that on the other side of this silence, there is a different kind of life waiting, not the loud, crowded, performative life you left behind, but a quieter, deeper, more authentic existence where you connect with fewer people, but far more meaningfully, where you speak less but say more, where you give less of yourself to the world, but what you give is pure. This is the life of the conscious soul who has learned to carry awareness without being destroyed by it. This is what Dostoevsky's greatest characters were reaching toward, what they died trying to achieve. And this is what you are becoming in your silence. Tell me in the comments which part of this resonated most deeply with you. Are you in the withdrawal stage now, or have you found your way back to the world with your truth intact? Your story might help someone else who feels alone in their disappearing realize they are part of an ancient pattern of conscious souls learning to carry the weight of seeing clearly. If you found value in this reflection, subscribe for more explorations of the inner life, the struggles of consciousness, and the path through suffering towards something real. And if you are ready to go deeper into Dostoevsky's understanding of the soul, watch my video on why suffering is the only path to truth, where I reveal what he discovered about the relationship between pain and transformation that changes everything. Thank you for being here, for listening, for having the courage to withdraw when withdrawal was necessary. Your silence is not empty. It is full of becoming.